Good evening and welcome to Business 7. Government is considering imposing new visa requirements on a number of countries. This will have dire consequences in the tourism industry, experts have warned. On the Biz 7 menu tonight, this hot potato.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Since government's announcement that it's thinking about imposing new visa requirements on certain countries in the world, it has been buzzing, not just in Namibia, but also outside the country. Locally, the Economic Policy Research Association has issued a very strong statement. Also yesterday, and I'd like to quote, the SADC Business Council Tourism Alliance issued a statement, and one of the things they said is that a restrictive visa regime can negatively impact the entire tourist chain. It will not only harm leisure travel, but also business travel, conferences, events, education, and trade, thereby limiting overall economic growth and trade. We spoke to Tannan Groenewald. He is an economist at Cirrus Capital on what the impact of this decision can be.
I think Namibians will argue that if a tourist wanted to come to Namibia, they would go through the process and pay the visa fee. But it's not necessarily the cost that's the issue. I mean, the average tourist visa cost is less than a day of the median income in the Eurozone. It's the requirement itself that acts as the barrier. I mean, the most reported barrier to travel tourism is a visa requirement, because now the tourist has to ask themselves, do they need a visa? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take to get the visa? So those are three additional questions they need to ask before they can book that flight and before they can book that hotel and make the trip. I think we really need to be cognizant of the fact that citizens from these countries hold very powerful passports, and they've got a whole list of countries that they can travel to without a visa. So what's going to happen if Namibia is removed from that list? I guess then how the volumes will be affected is how well known are our differentiators, our coastline, our views. Because we compete now with our neighboring countries. We've got the Victoria Falls on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. We've got South Africa that's got Cape Town, Stellenbosch, and national parks. So then if this comes through, how are we going to stand out? And if I can give a reverse example, when Mauritius and Seychelles, they previously had visa requirements. When they lifted that, the rate at which their tourism arrivals were growing was far greater than that before that introduction. And I think the worry is that it's going to have the reverse case.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
One of the biggest impacts that the new visa requirements will have if it is implemented by government is the consequences it will have for employment in Namibia. We return to Tannan Groenewald, economist at Cirrus Capital.
I think definitely the biggest one is its effect on employment and demand on the street. I mean, in the latest Afrobarometer survey, which I'm sure you've seen, by far the largest concern by Namibians is unemployment. And do you know how many votes there were for foreign travel? There were none. So the sector really employs nearly 15% of the total jobs in the country, and it's especially important for providing formal jobs in rural areas where they might not find formal jobs in other sectors. And it goes beyond formal jobs even, because if you look at the informal jobs created, we have to remember that 50% of people in this industry are self-employed. Think about the people that are at the airport offering transport service. Think about the people along the coast that are offering paddling and kayaking, and the people all along the country that are selling goods on the sides of the roads. In many cases, this is their only source of income. And particularly for female employment, it's the most female-dominant sector. There's well over 3 women for every man employed in this sector, but it's the second largest employer behind agriculture, which is largely subsistence farming. So it employs 18% of females in the entire country, just in the accommodation sector alone. And we haven't even touched on the indirect and induced employment and other economic effects that come from this, because the tourism sector has one of the largest multipliers in the country because it's so reliant on other sectors in the country. Like, for example, wholesale and retail. The average tourism expenditure in 2022 on mall shopping was 7,000, and it was nearly 6,000 on groceries alone. So it shows you how reliant it is on these other sectors. But yeah, outside employment, we've spoken about how it earns us that nice hard currency. And I think a particular concern for myself is with this oil and gas money that's coming in. All of these foreign investors, they're going to look closely at how government is going about their policy decision making. And if they see that government can just switch up in the moment's notice, I think that's very worrying.
Let me can show you something. Don't worry. Next time, I check nice.
Thanks, but it's okay. FNB Insurance checks nicer.
At FNB Insurance, we provide cover for all your valuables, from your phone to your laptop to your car. FNB Insurance. You value it, we cover it. T's and C's apply.
There has been a lot of talk about what the possible motive can be from a government wanting to impose these new visa requirements. Once again, Tannan Groenewald, economist at Cirrus Capital.
I think we're all just a bit in the dark as to how exactly they're going to roll this out and when they're going to roll it out, in what format. But yeah, I really have to ask, what is the goal with this policy? Because these other countries that have not reciprocated and not let us in easily, they have valid reasons, because we have very high overstay rates in these countries. We have very high rates of asylum seekers. I read that piece there in the newspaper that Canada, I think it was 2013, remember, had by far the highest rate of asylum seekers.
Yes,
meaning
exactly.
80%.
Yes.
So these are valid reasons, but we don't experience these same kinds of problems. So what is our goal? Is it to help the Namibians with foreign travel to go abroad? Because only 3% of Namibians actually fly. What about the rest that cannot afford to fly and are instead reliant on these foreigners coming in the country and spending their money within the borders to create their employment and income? I think Namibians will also argue that these countries should reduce their visa fees or allow multiple visa entries, but then that's not reciprocity then. And yeah, I think the revenue that's generated from this is going to be a drop in the bucket in terms of our total revenue and its complications for the budget. And that money is not going to be sufficient, and it's not going to be redistributed to the tourism industry and the loss of employment of everyone that's in that industry. So yeah, I think the policy could be damaging to the 97% that don't fly and that instead rely on not just the direct effects of tourism, but the indirect effects to the entire economy.
Moving away from Namibia a little bit, we're taking a look at the business highlights in Africa over the past week as compiled by Reuters.
Here is what's been making the business headlines in sub-Saharan Africa this week. South Africa's rand slipped on Friday as fears the governing African National Congress could form a coalition with radical parties. Following this week's election roiled markets, at 8:33 GMT, the rand was 0.5% weaker than its previous close. Analysts attributed the local currency's weakness to the uncertainty that a coalition government could bring. South Africa's election took place on the same day that Australian mining company BHP Group walked away from its $49 billion plan to take over rival Anglo American. A major reason for the collapse was Anglo's concerns over the complexity of unbundling its South African iron ore and platinum assets. Anglo has its own plan to divest less profitable assets and focus on expanding copper output. One asset Anglo is looking to offload is global diamond giant De Beers. Botswana's president Mokgweetsi Masisi said he's hoping for a quick separation before Anglo is exposed to a possible hostile takeover. Botswana, the world's top diamond producer by value, and De Beers are preparing to launch the first phase of a $6 billion project to extend the life of the flagship Dronning diamond mine. But on Wednesday, Masisi also warned about the threat posed by synthetic diamonds to the economic lifeblood of his country, which relies on diamonds for around 40% of government revenues. Nigeria's Dangote refinery is aiming for a dual listing on the London and Lagos bourses, a senior executive said on Tuesday. Built by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, it can refine up to 650,000 barrels per day and will be the largest in Africa and Europe when it reaches full capacity this year or next. And finally, Africa's economic growth is set to accelerate to 3.7% this year and 4.3% next year, from 3.1% in 2023. The African Development Bank's president said on Wednesday,
The African Development Bank has consistently invested in infrastructure.
Wumi Adesina expressed hope that the bank can boost infrastructure investment with IMF help.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.
In Nigeria, labour unions have called for an indefinite strike following talks of a new minimum wage. This report by Reuters.
Nigeria's main labour unions shut down the national grid and disrupted airline operations across the country on Monday. This was the start of an indefinite strike over the government's failure to agree a new minimum wage. In Lagos, artist Daniel Levy said he was booked onto an 11 a.m. flight to the capital Abuja.
And it's looking like there's no hope because it's almost 12 and the workers that were inside were chased to be outside right now. So all hope is lost and I have to go back and hope we can move tomorrow.
This is the fourth strike by the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, two of Nigeria's biggest unions, since President Bola Tinubu took office last year. State-owned utility, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, said union members drove away operators at the country's power control rooms and shut down at least 6 substations. That eventually shut down the national grid in the early hours of the morning. 2 airlines said the strike had grounded flights. Emmanuel Jaja is Deputy President of the Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria.
Now we are inflicting hardship on Nigerians, which is not the normal thing. So if it is government that is thinking about their citizens, I think they should rethink and we'll go back to the table.
Since taking office, Tinubu has embarked on a series of bold economic reforms. That's fueled a rise in inflation to an almost 30-year high and worsened a cost of living crisis. Unions declared the indefinite strike on Friday after the collapse of talks for a new minimum wage, meant to cushion the impact of reforms. The union said the strike would last until a new minimum wage was put in place.
E-Ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nhom.com.na.
South Korea has held its first ever summit with leaders and representatives of Africa as the country is looking to tap into the vast mineral resources the continent has to offer.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol and African leaders launched a critical minerals dialogue on Tuesday aimed at sustainable development of the continent's resources. At a first-ever summit with the leaders and representatives of 48 African countries, they also agreed to forge deeper trade and business cooperation. That's as South Korea seeks to tap into Africa's rich mineral resources and potential as a vast export market.
We will seek sustainable ways to work together on issues directly related to future growth, such as stable supplies of key minerals and digital transformation.
Africa holds 30% of the world's reserves of critical minerals that are essential to the global energy transition, including chrome, cobalt, and manganese. Yoon's office said partnering with the continent is crucial. South Korea is one of the world's largest energy buyers. It's also home to leading semiconductor producers and the world's fifth largest automaker, Hyundai Motor Group, which is making a push for electrification. Yoon said South Korea would increase development aid for Africa to $10 billion over the next 6 years. He also pledged to offer $14 billion in export financing to promote trade and investment for South Korean companies in the continent.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Let me show you something.
Don't worry. Next time, I check nice.
Thanks, but it's okay. F&B Insurance checks nicer.
At FNB Insurance, we provide cover for all your valuables, from your phone to your laptop to your car. FNB Insurance. You value it, we cover it. T's and C's apply.
That's it for Business 7 this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. We're playing out with a Reuters report warning of imminent famine in Sudan. Until next week, stay well.
The people of Sudan are at imminent risk of famine, United Nations agencies said on Friday. More than a year into a war between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, around 18 million people are already hungry. That includes 3.6 million children who are acutely malnourished, according to a joint statement by UN chiefs. OCHA spokesperson Jens Larky.
Time is running out for millions of people, including 3.6 million acutely malnourished children who are at risk of famine, and they are displaced from their lands, living under bombardments and cut off from humanitarian aid.
In April 2023, fighting broke out in the capital Khartoum and quickly spread across the country. It reignited ethnic bloodshed in the Western Darfur region and forced millions to flee in the world's largest displacement crisis. And according to a UN Special Advisor, there is a risk of genocide in parts of Darfur.
19 global humanitarian organizations, including 12 UN agencies, today warned that if they continue to be prevented from providing aid in Sudan rapidly and at scale, a famine will likely take hold in large parts of the country. More people will flee to neighboring countries. Children will succumb to disease and malnutrition, and women and girls will face even greater suffering and dangers.
The war broke out as long-simmering tensions over integrating the RSF with the army came to a head. A UN-backed report said in March that immediate action was needed to, quote, prevent widespread death and total collapse of livelihoods.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
We are all seeking connection to each other, to the world, to the spaces we exist in.
Poor sportsmanship right now from the lads. 1.85 for the national record. Here's another chance, and it is a goal from Vindo Kahana.
Sy sê wie hy is aan neertrek en daai bal het my grond gevat. Ja, hy het grond gevat en is hier
Running that mountain up. Okay, so we will be doing this. More advanced, slightly advanced.
So is jou trolley reg? Want
I love it. I love it. So then
kickstart our countdown at number 5 with this one.
Op Netwerk TV se Klets Kompas gesels ons nuus van 'n Maandag tot Donderdag. Ons kyk ook na die weer en meer. Stories wat jou raak en stories wat saak maak.
They've made a mistake in denying me bail, and they've made several other mistakes in many other cases.
The channels that teach us something new or reflect our expression. So it goes beyond switching to the right station. It's about choosing the experience that can adorn the present, dressing it with our tastes as we expand our preferences, because what we are actually connecting to is boundless, limitless human energy. And this is the spirit of NTV.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.